2 years ago, Tunisian street vendor Mohamed Bouazizi set himself on fire and unleashed a wave of uprisings across the Arab world. Change has swept across the region as a result of the so-called Arab Spring. But in Syria, as the conflict grinds into the 21st month, the future is still bleak. Kate Parkinson reports from the Syria-Turkey border.
Some 6,500 people live in this camp along the border. They fled their homes because of the fighting, but they can't cross into Turkey because the refugee camps there are full. They're effectively trapped here, and the freezing winter weather makes life incredibly tough. But for Aisha, it is better than being at home. Her aunt was killed yesterday, and her 3 cousins were injured in an airstrike.
Yesterday was the worst day of my life. I've never felt like that before. It was like death was hovering over me, following me wherever I went. I'm sad that I had to leave my home, but I'm thankful to God that I have enough strength to cope with this cold and hunger, so I can at least get a moment of peace and feel safe when I sleep.
But not everyone agrees. Mohammed has had enough of the flimsy tents and the shortage of food and water, and is packing up and heading back to his village with his wife and children.
It's mainly because of the cold. I mean, I could die here, or I could die in my home. We stayed awake all night watching the sky in case the fighter jets came close.
But for many here whose homes have been destroyed, there is nowhere else to go. And so despite the freezing weather, they wait, hoping they'll one day be able to go into Turkey, or better still, that the war will end and they can go back home to Syria and start rebuilding their lives. 2 years ago, the people of Syria could barely imagine just how much the events in Tunisia would impact their lives. Changes have swept across the Arab world, but here today, people talk less about change and more about survival. And the Arab Spring is turning into a long, cold Arab winter. Kate Parkinson, CCTV, Azaz Camp, Syria.